data. Here is generally what happens when the market starts to rise. It rises first of all in London. So you've got the London market starts to rise and then it starts to wash out. Then it washes out to the outer metropolitan of London, then to the southeast and to the southwest. So let's look at this on the chart here. Let's look at the last 7 years here. If you look here at Greater London, it's up 70.3%. The outer metropolitan, 54%. So it's all washing out. Then it goes over to East Anglia with 36%. The outer southeast, 41.2%. And the southwest, 30.2%. Okay, so that is how it rises first. Then it's almost down the motorway network. So it hits the towns and cities first and then washes out in the smaller villages about a year later. Then it goes up north or into the Midlands, the East Midlands and the West Midlands. If we look at the slide, it's gone up 24.5% in West Midlands and 25.1% in East Midlands. Virtually the same. Then we move up the M62 corridor. And then we move along to the northeast and then the northwest. So when you look at this pattern, it's not an exact science, but when it rises first in London, then in the Midlands about 3 years later, then we get to the M62 corridor, Manchester. I managed to go up a little bit quicker, but the 62 corridor is about 4 years later. And the northeast about 5 years later. It's not an exact science, but I think I get the picture. When it pauses in London, it doesn't pause in the Midlands until about 3 years later. And it doesn't pause in Newcastle until about 5 years later. When it falls 10% in London, it doesn't fall 10% in the Midlands till 3 years later. 4 years later along the M62 corridor and 5 years later in Newcastle. Once you start to understand the pattern, it's really powerful, because if house prices are going up at 10% in the Midlands, you can be fairly confident that a year later house price will rise along the M62 corridor about a year later. I hope this helps, and if it's useful, please subscribe, click the like button and share. Thanks for watching.